Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our podcast and watching us on our video blog. Today's the 19th of January. It's a day before tomorrow's inauguration in Washington, D.C., and we will be having a new administration in power beginning tomorrow afternoon. So, as many of you have probably been aware of, the ceremony will be taking place indoors tomorrow because of the cold. So whoever's going to be out there, just want to make sure that you guys know to bundle up and be ready for um, an extreme cold outside if you're going to be walking around Washington D.C., downtown Washington D.C. Luckily, within the metro, tunnels, they're they're pretty much heated, so you won't be freezing underground. But out in the open tomorrow, make sure that you're bundled up and um, away from the cold. Okay. With this said, folks, it's quite a bit of stuff that's going to be taking place this week. So I thought I kind of discuss some of my projects and initiatives pertaining to the face economics concept. As many of you all are probably familiar of, our concept is the utilization and the use of the social media platform in economic development worldwide, basically using the platform for good. Okay, when I first drafted the book when I was still in college, my priority and objective in creating the face economics concept was to help support economic development, throughout the world, so that it would give, the population of this world a way to increase capacity, develop, their economies, sustain and support their job creation initiative. So that was my main priority. Okay. But unfortunately, as various social media platforms um, carry on and evolve, some of them have been used to become a political party apparatus, namely by the Democrats, such as Facebook. And I've actually started a campaign or a petition, not necessarily a campaign, but a petition to hold Mark Zuckerberg legally accountable for basically silencing and unethically utilizing his power and platform to disrupt, you know, the transfer of knowledge and the freedom to express via speech and individual expression. Our civil rights and human rights have been violated, and our trust ignored by Mr. Zuckerberg as he continuously make money off of us using our data. And now he's trying to also take away our freedoms. So I ask you guys to please sign our petition. I'm going to include the petition at the bottom section of this podcast and our description on our channel, Face Economics TV channel. Furthermore, as many of you are familiar with my case, my ongoing case, many years on an ongoing case with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which I've had requested assistance from the Biden-Harris administration on. And 4 years that they've been in power, nothing was done. Okay. And I've requested aid, relief, and justice, and nothing was done by the Biden-Harris administration. So, as it turns out, they're colluding with social media giants, and therefore some of these kinds of cases have been silenced and kept away from public attention, which is extremely problematic because we can't change the landscape, social landscape of hate in America until we educate um, the population, on its ramification and effects, very negative effects on people. Um, and yet when our voices are being silenced, canceled, and ignored by these social media giants in cahoots, in collaboration with government parties, political parties. That's extremely scary, folks. That means our democracy and our freedom of speech and our right to have a fair, engagement in a public discourse in the public domain is being violated. Our civil rights is being trampled on. Our human rights ignored. Okay, folks, then that's that's an ingredient for social conflict and problems, not just in the US but throughout the world. Okay, folks, I've seen a lot of societies where the marginalized, the powerless, the voiceless, the underrepresented have been ignored, and it persists, and eventually societies crumble because of the lack of respect, the lack of consideration, and the lack of maturity of a population. I've many societies dissolve and many crumble because of you know um, the overall marginalization of and oppression of the ones that are underrepresented, and without a voice, and marginalized, and is simply not seen as a part of a society. When those things happen um, within a country, regardless how big or small a country is, then that would basically, by default, become a social, um, deterioration that is going to be magnified fairly rapidly, accelerated by all sorts of social conflicts. Okay, folks. So that's why I figured I, come and share my voice and share my story with the public, with the world, and also with the US government, because I've seen quite a bit of hate going around and it's not being addressed. There's this lip service, there's this, you know, um, conversation in passing saying, it shouldn't happen, but it's not really being addressed to the point that those that have been affected and victimized and eventually, you know, um, survive these kinds of hate treatment uh, are not being given the opportunity to address the issue and share their story with the world and with the public, such as via, the social media platform and other uh, mass communication channels, especially when these social media platforms have turned into, they become, a political party apparatus, just like, in back in the days when the communists, when the dictatorship, authoritarians of this world, the oppressors, the tyrants, you name it, oligarchs would consolidate their power and make sure that they retain that power among themselves and trample on the rights of others. So yeah, folks, that's why I've requested for the Democrats, especially for the Biden Harris administration, to prove that they are against hate, that they're against bullying, that they're against marginalization of the population, that they're against discrimination, racism. I've challenged them to provide reparations to people that are actually have lived and is still living with social discrimination, social hate, okay, marginalization. Social hate is marginalization, folks. So I've requested for the Biden Harris administration to prove their position And 4 years in power, nothing, nothing, zero, niche, nothing was provided. That just shows, folks, that it is not a priority for the Biden Harris administration to provide aid, relief, and justice to those that have been victimized by hate in this country, those that have been marginalized in this country. Okay, folks. On top of that, the social media platforms have become an apparatus of the Democrat Party and have served to be, the microphone of the elite, powerful class of this country. Okay, folks. With that said, my name is Al Mina, the concept author of Face Economics, the utilization of the social media platform, economic development worldwide. So I want to kind of also reflect on, some of the objective and priorities of Mr. Mark Zuckerberg when he first developed Facebook before they even turned it into a company called Meta. Meta is a search platform. Meta search. Back in the days, they had, meta search, where you can pretty much look up anything and everything that you want online. It's just like Google search, but they called it meta search and web crawlers back then. But anyway, when Mr. Zuckerberg first started his Facebook organization, he actually wanted to support economic development at one point. He even spoke about putting satellites and internet balloons around the world so everyone will be able to access his platform, social media platform, and be able to transfer knowledge and build capacity and promote job creation and entrepreneurship. All of that basically fizzled away a couple years later. And lo and behold, today, Meta and Facebook have turned into a political party apparatus. Okay, folks, what started off as a good, noble business model have become a socialist, communist, dictatorship, authoritarian, tyrant, oppressive platform. Okay, like for example, I myself have experienced a lot of these, being blocked off of my account, people that would never identify themselves, and I have no idea who's viewing sensitive information that they request for me to disclose to them, like my ID information, driver's license. My address is on there. The state I live in is on there. Everything that is very sensitive, they would request, and I have no idea who's reviewing them. And on top of that, they would ask questions like, who do you know in your friends list, and prove that you've actually come across that person, you're acquainted, and they are friends of yours. But yet, all the fake accounts on social media, on Facebook specifically, have never been removed. So it's kind of, troubling to see that some of those fake accounts are actually, people that are spying, like police kind of, police state platform, like what the communists would do. Basically, they would monitor people incognito. They would spy on people. So now that's what some social media platforms have become. They're a police, spying platform, which it violates our civil rights in America. It violates our trust in the platform that we utilize to be of social, interaction with the public. So just think about everything that I'm talking about, folks. And this is what led me to want to start this petition to hold Mr. Zuckerberg legally accountable for mismanaging our trust and for violating the law of the land and violating, our, overall confidence in them, ethically dealing with us, because there is no way for us to know who's reviewing our material. They would just basically block you off out of your account, and they will say, okay, provide this information to us, or else you're going to be, blocked out of your account, indefinitely, or you'll never ever get access to your account again. I mean, there's a lot of, extremely alarming uh, interaction and engagement that you would be a participant in, that they would basically make you, feel as if you're talking to a detective or some sort of, police interrogator. You know, I mean, why are we being subjected to these kinds of treatment? Okay, folks. Um, anyway, think about what I'm talking about. Because, I mean, throughout history, if you really think about what took place back in the days when so many countries and so many populations were dealing with authoritarianism, dictatorship, communism, the powerful elites, the oligarchs, the dictators would basically, pin you down and to submission and make you, submit and agree to whatever it is that they're accusing you of, and, make you be a subject to their authority and power against your will. So that's what's happening today in the social media world, in today's artificial intelligence gathering, and today's, abuse of power in an internet setting, in a world wide web environment, in the social media age that we live in today, folks. We need to be very, very careful with this kinds of engagement, uh, because never in human history have we been, subjected to these kinds of violation of rights by people that we've never met, people that we don't know if they like us or don't like us. Yet they have access to our information based off of, the platforms that they put out there for the public to use, and they make money off of us. But yet they want to also, you know, take our freedoms from us. So I really would like to challenge and have the incoming administration, the Trump administration, to follow through on, you know, um, persecuting Mark Zuckerberg, holding him accountable for allowing or utilizing his platform to become a political party apparatus, okay, folks, of the Democratic Party. Um, Trump himself was banned when he was a sitting president. When Trump was a sitting president trying to communicate with the public on various social media platforms, he was banned to communicate with the public by social media giants. Imagine that kind of power and authority over a country, over a government. This is the time for Trump to let people know that, the marketplace is open, and can make, as much money as they can, but they can't impose and take our freedoms away. You know, I mean, I understand the marketplace. I come from a business background myself. I love economic development. I love, capacity building. I enjoy building new markets and creating job opportunities. But I do not stand for dictatorship. I do not stand for oppression. I don't stand for tyranny, communism. Okay, folks. And these social media political apparatus needs to be held accountable. I mean, they need to be scrutinized. I mean, on top of reviewed on some of the things that they've been doing behind the scenes. Mark Zuckerberg had been called up on on Capitol Hill, right, and had him basically uh, provide his testimony in front of various political decision makers on Capitol, but they couldn't do anything to him. And he has so much power and authority that it kind of, it kind of remove any form of checks and balance on his business and his activities um, that can be enforced by the government, can be enforced by the law. And therefore, I implore everyone listening to my voice right now to please sign my petition to hold Mark Zuckerberg legally accountable. Okay, folks. Um, I mean, the guy is a multi-billionaire because of the public, because of the data that we provide to his company. And for him to, you know, be so audacious and be so bold to want to take our freedom from us when he's making money off of our backs, when he's making money off of us, um, that's just unheard of. I mean, um, yeah, folks, I really hope Mr. Trump would man up. If he's truly what he says he is, that he will hold people accountable, especially those that have violated our rights as Americans and is wanting to preserve our democracy. If that's truly what Mr. Trump wants to do, then he has to prove himself, hold Mark Zuckerberg legally accountable, persecute him to the fullest extent of the law. Okay, because the damages, who knows what could have, I mean, what what else he could have done had he not been pressured to fess up. I mean, he had all sorts of power and authority over the social media users using his platform, because we there is no way for us to check him. There is no way for us to call foul on him. There is no red flag that we can raise when our rights are being violated, because we don't know who's violating our rights. It's just happening behind the scenes, and we're just typing away, putting information on our on our posts and doing whatever it is that we do on social media without knowing that we're actually not being protected by anybody. There is no protection for us. While our civil rights are being violated and they're making money off of us, we're like, blind sheeps doing about our business and doing about whatever it is that we feel like doing on social media that are, legitimately, you know, for the use of social media. I'm not talking about doing anything illegal, but yet they're the ones that's practicing illegal, type of monitoring, policing, silencing, violating of civil rights, and ignoring our human rights and privacy. So, folks, don't take my word for it. Just think about what I'm talking about now. We have never, ever, as human race, as people group, as the world, have been exposed to this kind of, you know, violations, because there was no social media platform in the past. We now live in the fourth, fifth industrial revolution, where man and machine are constantly interacting and intermingling. And when that happens and there is no way for us to control it, then we will lose every rights as a society, every rights that we have as a democracy, every right as human beings will be violated if no one will go out there and raise their voice and say, we will not stand for unethical, illegal, and undemocratic, you know, activities online on a social media platform. So, folks, please sign our petition. It's now or never. Okay, folks. The way I see things is that things could manifest in a much more problematic, situation in the next couple of months and years if we don't address this head on, this issue of human rights, civil rights violation, silencing on our on their social media platforms, and being, the social media platform being used as a weapon against the public. Um, I mean, this is extremely very concerning to me. Okay, folks. Um, just because we've never lived in a world like this before. Um, and unfortunately, we're kind of being tested. We're like a guinea pig right now, where everything and anything is being thrown out our way, and they're making us, run the wheel and do all of the hoops and balancing and everything that they can experiment on, using us, the public, to see at what point we're going to break and basically uh, lose our our overall willingness to raise our voice, to become those classically conditioned, you know, uh, puppies. They're training us to become submissive. They're training us to just yield to them because they have power and authority over us. And the more we allow for them to violate our rights, and the more we allow for them to violate our freedoms, just the more they're going to be emboldened to basically disrupt our lives, to violate our rights, and ignore our civil and human rights, folks. My name again is Al. Mina, thank you for listening to this Face Economics TV video blog and Face Economics podcast. Um, you know, my 4-year battle and 4-year request from the Biden-Harris administration is, again, as I mentioned, have been ignored. Okay. Um, and, it's mainly because our voice and our overall um, objective to educate the population on the ramification of hate, the ramification of marginalization of people, the ramification of cruel treatment of those that don't think, look, and act like us. Um, it's just not a priority, unfortunately, for the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrat Party, a party that claimed to be the champion of human rights, civil rights, those that are oppressed, the minorities, the underprivileged, the voiceless. All of those things are simply lip service, folks. You need to smart up. You actually need to pay attention. You actually need to, develop a brain, because there's plenty of promises from the Democratic Party to the minority groups of America. But yet they are the ones that are violating every single one of our rights. And when we come to them for aid and support and, request to, tone down their power, they would basically ignore you. And if not ignore you, silence you. So, yeah, folks, that's just the name of the game, unfortunately. So, with that said, thank you for listening to me on this Sunday evening, January the 19th, 2025. Tomorrow is going to be the inauguration day of Mr. Trump, candidate to run as a Republican who basically did not go through the Republican primaries because he was so popular among the Republican population of the country, have managed to uh, be voted back in office. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to end my podcast and video blog here for now. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your listening ear and your continued support. As I mentioned, please sign our petition and help us help you gain respect, gain a voice, and gain your freedom to express yourself, okay, and voice your concern. Okay, folks. Thank you. My name is Al. Mina.